You know, he's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
What it do? Welcome back to Agitator
and the Getting Lit podcast.
And welcome to Bistro Californium.
And we're doing a special cross post on a video game remaster of the Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2. And I think me, JDO and Yerk have some history with this game, but I think Kelby is way too young to have experienced this when it first came out. But the remaster was a good chance for us.
I had uncles.
Oh, you had uncles? Okay. Well, that seems very cryptic and
yeah. When they were done
disturbing.
molesting me, we would play Soul Reaver.
Yes. So you did have history. I thought you would be too young for it.
No, Tomb Raider was really big for me, and this was like, I don't know, the goth version of that. So it was 100% my shit back in the day.
Yeah, and the remasters are kind of like, I think they kind of came as a result of, or they were doing a similar thing to the Tomb Raider remasters, which is taking the I don't know the technical terms, but like the source code of the games and then just like giving them a new polish and stuff. What's all our history with this is supposed to be a 3-way kind of host thing. I'm kind of taking over hosting though. I'm sorry.
That's 100% what I thought was going to happen, and I was so happy about that. I'm like, Matt is so type A. He's going to take the reins, and we can just rock with that, bro. My introduction to this was the exact same as Metal Gear. So I had not a subscription, but I was a monthly devotee of EGM, Electronic Gaming Monthly, which I don't know if they had in Australia or the UK. But it was the big, it was just a big gaming magazine, and they would have a disc in there every month with different demos to play. And MGS, that's how I played the first level, still Japanese, like over and over and over again that way. Mm-hmm. And they had one for Soul Reaver. And what's funny about it is that the demo for Soul Reaver, because it had like development hell issues, the game itself, I don't think, didn't come out for like a year after that. But I played the fuck out of that demo. And the demo is literally just that kind of first stage, right? Mm-hmm. But when the game came out, I mean, I was in my complete gamer mode at that point. So I played 1, and then eventually when 2 came out, what's funny is I had just kind of come out of that. I might have my timeline mixed up. There's a reason why I didn't play 2 originally when it came out for PS2, but yeah, I played the fuck out of part 1. And this was back in the day. You had to go, you had to buy strategy guides. This was like even pre-game FAQs. So I had Tomb Raider strategy guides, I had Legacy of Kain strategy guide, and very similarly in my recent playthroughs of both, I'm still a strategy guide guy. Like I went straight to YouTube. If like 5 minutes I couldn't get something done, I was like straight to YouTube.
The bells. That bell stage.
Nope.
Oh my god.
Not fucking with it. Yeah.
And it's like, and it's actually a really simple like solution to the puzzle, but you just don't see it until you like watch a YouTube video on it. I feel so ashamed to admit that.
Yeah, the amount of times I was running to the door and then watching the incredibly slow like door opening animation and worrying about the bell ring. I mean, we'll explain the context for this later, but
yeah.
And part 2 is really good for YouTube as well because there's so much backtracking in part 2.
Oh my god!
Right, and so like figuring that out on my own, I like doing that kind of shit with Elden Ring, but for games like this, there's a sweet spot of the kind of monotonous, monochrome, like you're saying, opening and closing the door animations. I can't do like I'll put the game down if I don't look up. Where do I need to go now? Oh, it's all the way fucking back to the beginning of the game. Bet.
Yeah. And it's kind of like it kind of like harks back to those, like that's like why I think things like Elden Ring and what are the other ones in that company
Dark
Souls and things like that, where I think people respond to that, especially old heads, because it's sort of like it's like that's what games mostly used to be. Like you just had to kind of figure it out yourself or buy a strategy guide. Like whereas now I feel like modern games are far too easy. Like, and the only way that they get harder is if you put the difficulty level up, and it's just harder in the sense of like you get killed more easily or something, but it's not harder in the sense of like puzzles and shit like that. I don't know. Maybe that's a
puzzles in games really trigger a learned helplessness problem with me.
Yeah. So then, what's your history with it? Yeah, with this game.
Well, it's been a really nostalgic experience because this is a game that I can remember primarily watching. So I had this friend in primary school. This is when I was a really little kid, and he was like my best friend, but he was also kind of like a bully. So there are like these kind of weird parallels between the nature of our childhood relationship and the sort of like media that he would show me. Like, I remember watching Terminator 2 at his house and kind of like weirdly mapping the Sarah Connor, John Connor relationship onto our friendship. And there's a similar thing that kind of happened with Kain and Raziel. Where they have this kind of like warped like mentor-mentee relationship. And I remember watching the opening scene, that like iconic opening intro movie, and I was seeing it at such an early age. I mean, it's still like one of the best intro scenes of any game I think ever. It just really immediately sets a tone. The music is everything about it is like perfect and it's incredibly dramatic. It's lost none of its like power, watching it as an adult. So to see it then was like really like a hugely influential thing. And then watching him playing it, maybe being able to have a go, but eventually I borrowed it from him. And I just kind of remember playing through that first level, maybe being too scared to try and play through the rest of the game, but spending a lot of time in that kind of area where, I made it basically back to the abyss. And I remember the feeling of like, I don't know, like, something like awe or something from like coming across this environment that was from the opening cutscene as well. Like this feeling that you're stumbling upon like a ruin or like an ancient ruin or something. That, and then also like the dynamics of how you would like kill enemies, the way combat works in the game, where you fight these like kind of monstrous vampires and you can only stun them, and then you have to like lift them up and execute them or impale them on something or set them on fire. Figuring out how to do that was really fascinating to me as a kid, and in the way that like you have this these kind of like systems or rules, these like fantasy systems or rules are really like fascinating to you as a kid, right? And there was like the ethereal realm, this idea of like shifting between realms that made a really big impression on me. And I also just remember this friend of mine like telling me about like lore from the game and the names of like Kain's other vampire lieutenants, like Rahab or Melchiah. These kind of mysterious, like, Hebrew sounding names. It all seems so kind of like mysterious, and dramatic to me. So it's really like stuck with me.
Yeah. My history with it is actually kind of in line with all of the topsy-turvy time travel stuff. Like I actually played, I think it's the third game in the series, Blood Omen 2 first. I think that's the third one.
It's a very different game.
Yeah, it is. And I played it because it was one of the exclusive releases to, I think, the new Xbox. It might have been the 360 or maybe the one before that. I can't remember. And my brother had that, and he was playing that because he was really into vampires and shit. And this one, it was quite violent. And Blood Omen 2 has this like animation where after dispatching an enemy, you like suck their blood, but it comes from
it comes like out of
stream. Yeah, like a stream.
Yeah.
And like I just thought that was so cool. And then sort of I got into it, and like I just got really obsessed with the story. And then because we dusted off the old PlayStation and like played the Soul Reaver games as well. So like we were playing it. The games are kind of not really in chronological order doesn't really apply to these games because it's kind of confusing because there is time travel. But so we went back and played the Soul Reavers, and then eventually I think played the last game where you can play as both Raziel and Kain.
Defiance.
Which is
it's
fun.
A fucked up game.
It's a fun game.
Yeah. No, Blood Omen 2 has one of the best scenes where Kain has a bitch in Blood Omen 2.
Yeah.
And she betrays him.
Yeah.
And there's this great point where like he rescues her from, I can't remember what it is. And he's basically like, I need you to repledge your loyalty to me. You need to tell me that you believe Kain. And she's like, I know that Kain will be the greatest ruler the land has ever known. And then he's like, you'll die knowing that. He fucking kills her. I was like, that's how you treat a disloyal bitch.
Yeah.
Right there.
But she was voiced by Counselor Troy from Star Trek too, by the way.
Oh, was she? Was she?
That's something about these games is the voice acting.
Oh yeah,
it's
so
crazy.
Yeah, I love Tony J, the guy who does the elder. He's clearly like he was a Shakespearean actor and stuff, and he's got this deep, sonorous voice. But like what I love in particularly this game, but like generally when you get like someone with a great thespian voice, I love making them say video game terms. Like when you hear them say it, like my favorite one with Tony J is when he's like kinetic energy. Like it's like he would never say this in like on stage or anything like that, but in video games he does. It's amazing. I love it.
The end of the cutscene where you hear his voice say Raziel, you are worthy. It's just so amazing. I love Tony J as well. And then I can't remember the actors, but the voices of both Raziel and Kain are completely perfect. Completely perfect kind of vampire voices.
It was so rare too for the time. This was the
good
age of Resident Evil. Like Barry in Resident Evil was like the best we had at that point. And then Legacy of Kain came out, and it was like, I mean, even the first Blood Omen had good voice acting. That's always been a staple of the series, is that they focus on that.
Yeah, and it's the same voice actor too. I think it's Simon Templeman. I think his name is. I haven't played the first one, but I've like seen footage of it. It's very different.
No, I never played it.
It's sort of like a top down kind of version.
I'm playing it right now. It's cool. It's cool. I haven't beat it, but it's I'd always skipped it because it was the graphics were like, now we're in an age where everything looks like perfect slop. So I'm like, oh, the graphics look fucking tight on this.
Yeah.
It's like when people played the first Grand Theft Auto.
I love nobody.
That game. I did. That was my introduction to Grand Theft Auto, was the first one. And I thought that one, I was like, ooh, I can't let anybody know I'm playing this. I'm like stealing cars.
And that was
but the thing is, like, the thing about those games, like 1 and 2, everybody calmed down after that. But as a EGM reader, it's very important in that time period to understand how incredibly controversial Grand Theft Auto was. It was Grand Theft Auto in a game called Thrill Kill. Thrill Kill got canceled. We've never seen Thrill Kill. It was a fighting game that just had all these dismemberment finishers and very Mortal Kombat-esque, but never happened because it was too violent. But GTA was every issue of EGM would have an article about like because we didn't even know if the game was going to be able to be released, and it was the top-down one, not GTA 2. 2 was the first 3D one, right?
Yeah.
But that first top-down, it was it was like there was a period of like the timeline could have diverged at that point because they were sort of deciding like, are we going to go this way or I'm going to stick to Mario Kart?
I can't remember, but I think it might have been banned at some point in Australia. But like Australia loves banning video games. Like, there's a long tradition
Matt,
of.
How are you able to play this remaster?
Yeah, exactly. No, but like they've kind of settled down a little bit now with this. But the problem is that like I think all of the people who it's like a classification board, and all of the people who sit on it are like, you know, august academics who like retired or something. So they don't really understand video games. So I think it's a bit better now where people like understand what video games are.
Well, you like, just got the new Silent Hills banned.
Did it?
In Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Well, some habits die hard, I guess.
Really, that's an appropriate grown-up response, though. It's like, whatever. Because it's like, I ain't playing the new Silent Hill.
Is that just a remaster as well, or is it a new...
No, it's the Silent Hill F. It's the new one where you play as a Japanese schoolgirl. So it's like amazing. Japan Silent Hill. Yeah, it looks like it's gonna be cool.
Do you think it was banned for sexy reasons rather than violent reasons?
Maybe
like too many upskirt shots, or...
No, I feel like it's just that it's been about 4 years since COVID, and they're like, we gotta ban something. Like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they were in their bag for that little period of time, dude. Yeah. They were like, "Oh, you better not fucking go to the beach, you motherfucker."
But yeah, like just the games themselves as well. Like the one thing that always stuck out to me was the gameplay is fun in Soul Reaver and Blood Omen as well. But it's also like I was just obsessed with the story. I don't know about you guys because you guys are writers as well, but like when a game has a good story, I almost don't care about anything else. I just want to get through the story, like, and I want to find out what happens. Like, so these games were like that for me. And the kind of sharing of characters and very different games and very different vibes, like, and having this sort of overarching story that like you would find out piecemeal, like in different timelines and stuff like that. I always thought that was really cool. And so that's why I got obsessed with them when I was a kid and I was playing this with my brother.
The kind of fragmentary soap opera nature of it is a big part of it. And it's also reflected in this, the point I'm always emphasizing about different things is, you know, this is like also reinforced by the kind of like out of order in which you'd like end up playing the games and how much of them you'd play through, and or if you saw a cutscene at a friend's house or something like that, and you'd just be left with these kind of like extremely suggestive fragments. And the lore of Legacy of Kain has so many like twists and turns, and I've been watching so many YouTube videos, like cutscene movies and explainers and things like that, and I still am like totally kind of lost, but I love just kind of being immersed in the world, and I love every cutscene is such a kind of treat to hear all the voice actors really go to town on all of these kind of concepts, but also engage in this like I think you described as like faux Shakespearean like these kind of banterous arguments they get into. I love hearing Raziel and Kain bicker over who is the more like doomed and romantic and who has a harder time of it. I think it's in like their second encounter in the first game where you know, like Kain has this line where it's something where he's kind of like, you know, do you have any idea what it's like? I can't remember the exact words, but he uses this really strange word. He's like, you know, like the fate of the entire universe hangs dependent from the advisedness of my every move. It's like, it's so great. Like, you know, like, and the characters have such distinct voices that in terms of the word choices they make, that it tells us so much about their characters. We get so much of a sense of like Kain as this vain, arrogant personality. And in Soul Reaver 1 and 2, he's kind of like much older and he has this like yellowed, wrinkled skin. That I remember standing out to me. Whereas Raziel has this kind of this almost like Shakespearean, but there's like a hint of American accent.
It's like a mid-Atlantic.
Yeah, really
accent.
beautiful voice that guy has, or at least his Raziel voice is. And the way he pronounces these words, like hypocrisy, the hypocrisy that damned me to this fate. It's just like, I enjoy it so much. I love how serious it is. And there's a kind of, I don't know if campiness is too strong a word, because it all takes itself so seriously. There's no quippiness.
Yeah, sincerity. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sincere.
Yeah. And like, that's a real, and gaming has suffered from, what lots of media has suffered from lately, which is, the irony thing, which we've talked about this before, but like
Raziel gets thrown into the abyss and he's like, that happened.
Yeah, exactly. No, but exactly. That's shitballs. Yeah. But I like those old games that just, they take the premise seriously, even if it's ridiculous, this game series sort of goes off the rails because it starts out as it's about vampires, but you almost forget that it's about vampires because there's so many different kind of fantasy elements and time travel and stuff like that,
The other thing that's funny about it is it's kind of essentially like a conflict between maybe a maximum of 5 visible personalities over the fate of this entire world called Nosgoth. That really, with the exception, I guess, of the enemies that you fight, whether they're human or demon or whatever, doesn't really seem to be inhabited by anyone. So the kind of ultimate stakes of what will happen to Nosgoth kind of, it's like you don't really see what it's all gonna be for ultimately. It's more just about these 5 or so people playing out this millennia long dispute they have between them. So I really enjoy that aspect of it too. But that said, I think, the story is sort of resonant and, it's it's relatable in various ways, and it mirrors interpersonal disputes that, well, at least that I had with my friends as a little kid, where you do tend to allegorize little squabbles you're having or whatever in terms of these very rich fantasy worlds that you're improvising together.
Yeah, well, the story is kind of hard to sum up if you haven't played these games, but basically the first game kind of starts off, and as we were saying before, the opening cutscene, which is so cool. Raziel is a vampire lieutenant to Kain, who is his antagonist throughout the series, and he sort of surpasses him in a way. He grows wings, and Kain gets really. This is all told in visual. There's a little bit of voiceover, but it's all visual.
Kain
language
is deified.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And then Kain gets really kind of jealous and basically breaks his wings, smashes him. That's so epic. I always remember that being so cool when I was a kid. I was like, oh, he went there.
That visual was tight.
Yeah. And just ruins his wings, and then he sort of tosses him into this kind of watery abyss, and water in this world is acidic to vampires, that's something I've never encountered before. Holy water is, but just water in general burns vampires apparently. And so he just falls down into this a well essentially for all eternity or whatever, or thousands of years or something.
The bit where it's these images fading in and out of him, his flesh fizzing and dissolving in the vortex, and there's that the music in the intro is so epic as well. It's this track called Ozar Midrashim.
Yeah.
I need
to
look
one
up
that's you can't even it's hard to vocally redo it, but it's
there's
really
this
cool
motif in it that's I think it's on strings where it's dun, 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 dun.
And then there's little like scratches or something like that. Are really
in
cool.
that bit, the Raziel, Raziel is good, like he's going extreme pain, relentless agony. It's like, it's just so sick. It's so awesome. And all those like little kind of like those tribal screeches that that track is full of. I need to look up the composer, but it's the guy who's in this new wave band called the Information Society, which I didn't know.
It kind of reminded me of certain tracks from it. The most iconic ones remind me of I don't know if you guys have listened to The Knife or Fever Ray. It's kind of those like breathy synths and those kind of hollow sounding toms, right? Like it really does evoke a kind of like the emptiness of Nosgoth, first of all, but it has personality. Video game music, they used to have, I think, very limited tools to work with. So you have the save room music from Resident Evil 2, that piano number that's so beautiful. Like the Tomb Raider, just like that kind of that haunting keening, like bam, bam, like 3 notes or whatever it is. And then this game, just phenomenal soundtracks, because they knew you were going to be listening to this thing on a loop for
however long the puzzle took.
However long the puzzle
While
took.
you're dragging blocks around.
But in terms of the story, Raziel eventually floats down and he kind of shifts. It's kind of hard, the transition, but basically he shifts into the spectral realm where he is met by the Elder God, which is a very Cthulhu Lovecraftian sort of being of immense power that grants him a second chance, where he's not really a vampire anymore. He's more of a wraith, so he can sort of phase in and out of the spectral and the material world. And it's just about his kind of quest for revenge, basically, on Kain. And he basically, in the first game, picks off all the other lieutenants in Kain's kind of army and then absorbs their powers and shit like that. And also, instead of blood, he feeds on souls now, which is really cool. That animation I've always found like so cool, and it's even better in the remaster. Yeah.
That's another area
the skull
of great,
just flying.
Great sound design as well, because all those kind of like the game does the sound design for the game does a really good job of imagining what these completely like fantastic acts would sound like in a way that's convincing. So all the sounds of him like I was going to say transitioning into the spectral realm, or absorbing souls, or when you're in the spectral realm and you're fighing the Sluagh, which are like these kind of low level
wretched creatures,
bestial wraiths. And when you like kill them and they kind of become translucent, which means you can absorb them, they make this mournful noise. They kind of go like so yeah, the whole like sort of palette of the sound palette of the game is so well done. It all like fits narratively so well.
So many great like sounds in it. So the sound design, like the music, is amazing. Like all those.
Well, the sound of Raziel's claws as well when he's like attacking an enemy, and it's like that. There's a kind of wetness to it. There's a chunkiness.
And just stabbing into blocks, dude.
Oh yeah. And I love the sound of the warp gates. Like it gives you this like and it's sort of like I don't know how I can explain it, but it seems very vampiric. Like it seems like it belongs in a vampire movie, that sound, whether it's like a music or a sound effect. But
they look really cool as well.
They do. Yeah.
I love the amount of like inscrutable glyphs and sigils in these games as well that are done in that kind of like faux Hebrew alphabet style, I think that they all look really cool.
Yeah.
I love the footstep pattern too. It takes me back. Like the sound designers these days with games are like really obsessed with foliage and shit. I think of like crunching grass a lot when I think of like the way they do in modern games, but this the thud,
the little
I
pitter
love
patter.
that sound.
It's great when you're in the time chamber room and it has like a glass floor and it makes this really satisfying clomping sound as Raziel walks over it.
I love that you guys are talking about this too, because it's something that I think needs to come back. I'd mentioned earlier that because of the limited amount of tools they had at their disposal, they're able to create these kind of hypnotic trance-like states that you can get into playing video games. And you find that, because I played through the Tomb Raider remasters as well, which I'm assuming, because they're both Crystal Dynamics games, they just decided to package those all out and send. But like when you're like playing these, there's so much going on in a modern video game. You have a heads-up display. You've usually got somebody on the radio talking to you. There's very few moments where you're just, unless you're playing a game like Elden Ring, right? There's very few moments where you're just kind of alone in an area and listening to the sounds of things. And it's an instance where I believe advancements in audio technology and lifelike sound design, it's cool on one hand, but these games suck you in. And it's through little things, and I'm so glad that Kelby mentioned this, like footsteps, because Tomb Raider does the same shit. Legacy of Kain and Tomb Raider both have extended periods of time where you're running from one place to another and it's just and you don't realize it, but that's like the clumps in like Resident Evil. Like every footstep you hear clump, 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 clump. And I know it sounds like kind of a small point, but I think it's actually major. I think that's huge. I think just stripping all the other bullshit away in games and allowing you to just hear a metronome of walking, and in Resident Evil, like seeing the doors opening, or in Legacy of Kain, having to push the doors, all these things that were done because the game needed time to load the area that you were actually going to go into. All these things that can drive you nuts when you're trying to solve a puzzle and you don't know where to go. I believe they brought you deeper into the game as a result. Right?
Especially when you're like, when you're trying to, either make the game part of your environment, like your physical environment of where you're playing, or you're trying to escape that environment. Like, you know, your uncle is all sweaty from touching you too heavily and you got the lava lamp going and he's like,
lava lamp
sniffing some rails off the end table. You've got Limp Bizkit blaring and you're just trying to like get into Soul Reaver, and those footsteps just help guide you in to a safer place. Where there's...
Yeah, they're good. They're good molestation games for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love that the spectral realm and like vampires is the safer place.
Yeah.
The spectral rape realm.
Spectral rape realm.
His dick's not real here anymore.
Oh, well, yeah, that's the thing that I always found disturbing about that. Is that Raziel's dick gets burnt off because he doesn't have any pants on. So it's like all of that.
I didn't notice that. That's interesting.
Yeah. That's why he says, I'd rather not live this life. And he's like, the choice is not yours.
But he does, throughout the story, he does get his phallic object in the Soul Reaver. So, it's kind of like that's how he compensates. Which is his sword. Yeah.
He is the Soul Reaver as well.
Well, that's a comment on masculinity, isn't it? Like, aren't we all our phalluses, really?
Well,
be the dick
I don't wanna...
I'm married, bro. I don't think so.
I don't want to like lower the tone or reduce it to like quote unquote headcanon, but I do feel like there is definitely a bit of a sort of like, if not sexual, there's some kind of tension between Raziel and Kain.
He rips his heart out. Like in is it in part 2 or Defiance where he rips Kain's heart out?
I can't remember. This is the thing about
isn't it? It's not Kain that he rips the heart out of. It's the other vampire
No. But
Oh no,
that's,
he
Kain
gets
has
he
Kane's
as
heart.
well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, sorry.
And then Kain keeps going. Like
Right.
because Kain has the heart of the other gay vampire.
Okay, yeah, that's who I was thinking of. Janice Allrun, I think his name
so
is.
he's got Kain has the heart of darkness inside of him, and Raziel rips it out, and then Kain wakes up and he's like, "What?" And then you kind of keep going. But yeah, I mean, how much more on the nose can you get? Because in Defiance, it's a bromance at that point. They're like, "Hey, I know we've had our rough spots, but
well,
I like you, you like me, like."
Keeping the tone,
kiss.
keeping the tone low. Like there's even a scene where Raziel is resisting his destiny to kill Kain, but the Reaver, the sword, wants to kill him, and he's sort of like holding it back, and it's like he's holding a dick in his face, like
I like that.
A tremulous appendage in his face, like.
Is that how it is for all gay guys? The first time they're like, no.
No. The opposite. Yeah.
See,
well, there's also when Raziel is like stabbing himself, and Kain is like, "Give in," and Raziel's like, "Kain, is this what you wanted?"
Well, yeah. Raziel has lost his dick, but notably, especially in the remasters, he does still have some cake. So,
well, he's all sinewy.
Yeah, you can see all the detail in the remasters. And you spend a lot of time at his back because it's a third-person game. So.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
These are only things that I noticed. Clearly,
I was gonna say I had no idea.
I was like, we can see his ass. Really?
You actually can.
I do love the design of Raziel with the like missing lower jaw, and then also like the kind of lack of a stomach. It's just a rib cage and then spine, but there's this like thin layer of sinew and muscle over it.
It's pure hunger. It's just pure hunger.
Yeah, and he has
there's nowhere for it to go.
These really chunky legs as well, like these really chunky shins. Like he looks a little bit like a Gorgonite from Small Soldiers or something.
Sure. Oh yeah, it's a good pull. Yeah. No, that's what I remember as a kid thinking that Raziel was the coolest character I'd ever seen. And I think this was before we had the anti-hero boom, which is really important. This is pre-Walter White. And so I just thought it was so cool that it was this guy who was like a ruined version of a hero.
Yeah.
And that I remember reading about the game and being like, they made a whole game where the protagonist of that game is the bad guy in this game. That was an idea that I hadn't seen before, right? Where it's
it was
holy shit, that's awesome. Change.
It was awe-inspiring to think of things like this. The idea of like the hero dying at the beginning as well. Or like going through this kind of like, decades of or centuries of like this torturous experience, and then being in this kind of like wounded form, it's like it really is
like the wings. The wings were huge for me, right? Like when I first was like, okay, you can't fly, but you can glide on these tattered wings. I was like, that's fucking sick, because when you're a kid, you're like, man, that's like me. I'm a demon with broken wings, baby. Like you turn on the new metal. But for real, like there was something really awesome to me about that they had incorporated all the shit that had gotten fucked up, and they stuck to that, right?
I mean, I distinctly remember playing that opening level, and the first time I was gliding as Raziel, and like feeling this note of satisfaction being struck, that there was this congruence between the like story of him having these like ruined wings, and then the like effects of that, the way that it was integrated into the gameplay.
And then that progresses throughout the game as you kill your brothers and gain their powers. I remember just being like, that's so fucking cool. Like I can do fire shit now. Like this is awesome. Like the way that you guys are right to say that it's very much a story game. And because of that, I think it's brilliant the way they develop in both games, right? The mechanics of the game as it goes along, right? Like you have a new thing and now, and I think all games do this now. So anybody who's listening to this, they're like, duh, like everybody runs past a door that's glowing blue and you can't go through it. And you get to like the 4th level and you get the blue power stone or whatever. And you're like, what about that blue door that I saw? But like it's commonplace now, but back then this was a new thing where you're like, oh, all like the high ledge that I couldn't get to before, like now I have this thing where I can shoot this other thing and make something fall down, and now I can get up there. It was revolutionary. It was completely unique.
And also now games like tell you what to do via an unappealing British woman.
Heads up displays.
Whereas, like, you know, with Legacy of Kain, you have like Tony J going like, "Your wings, though ruined, allow you to," you know, like, so like all of those
kinetic
kind of
energy.
Press the X button.
All of the little like explanatory bits are just kind of like translated into this, like, you know, again, this like faux Shakespearean dialogue and like this is another great way that you know, the sort of mechanics of the game are integrated into the storyline, because the Elder God voiced by Tony J is kind of like your guide through the early part of the game, and teaches you how to do things and tells you about the enemies and so on. But then the way that the relationship between Raziel and the Elder God develops is this one of progressing mistrust on the part of Raziel.
Oh yeah, he's the big bad.
Yeah. So like it's like the guy who's kind of, or this entity who's guiding you and kind of tutoring you in how to play the game later becomes a kind of untrustworthy figure. And that's just it's like a really interesting mechanical choice, you know, because it's like subtly undermining about, like, I don't know, the very mechanics of the game that you're playing. You know, it enhances this feeling of being in a universe where you can't really trust anybody, and you're always being manipulated by some party.
And a very similar thing happens have you guys played BioShock?
A little bit.
A very similar thing happens in that game where like the person who's been tutoring you through the game basically has just been manipulating you and ends up being like a bad guy, and you're like he's using you for his own purposes. But this game did that way before BioShock came out. So I like the how the Elder God is this almost like demiurge type figure. Like this game has lots of like, it's not overt.
But he's also like Uncle Monty from Withnail and I.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
The two Americans are like, what?
Yeah.
You guys have to watch Withnail and I.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Sorry, Matt.
You should. Yeah. It's like this there's like Gnosticism that's brought in, but it's never like really heavy handed because it's still like a playable kind of video game. And it doesn't, and with the mechanics itself, it doesn't like hold your hand too much. I got the feeling, because I can't remember this from when I first played it, but I got the feeling that there were little hints in the remasters that I don't think were there in the originals. Like, it just didn't. I think they might have added it in, like, you need to shoot that window or something. It says things like that just in text. Not.
Yeah, that wasn't in the original.
Right.
Yeah, you're 100% right. Yeah, they 2024'd it up a little bit, I think. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think
but
oh, sorry. Some of the puzzles in the second game were like particularly inscrutable as well.
It's like all puzzles. There's like barely any bosses, which the bosses, what I like about the games is that the bosses are kind of puzzles in and of themselves. Like you don't ever, let me see if I'm fucking up here. No, none of the bosses are really like, you just fight them. Like they're all You have to figure out, because like even the spider guy, like, but yeah, like the puzzles in the second game, again, that's what I think it's straight up, it's where distance comes into play. Like, and you've got to go different places, and you're not fighting any bosses, and you're just like, all right, I got to figure out how to move these columns and redirect light, and
in order to look at some murals, basically.
yeah.
Oh, I love all the moments where Raziel looks at murals, and
this one's different.
Yeah, learning something mysterious about his past that just feels like it never gets resolved.
That's something that I was going to say before, but I forgot about when, JDO, you're talking about how like that's very common now in games of like having, the blue crystal or whatever. What I liked between the games, between these two in particular, Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2, is how, and which was very revolutionary from the time, is that you retain all of the abilities.
You retain all your powers. Yep.
In the first game. And then, but then it does this really smart thing by complicating it again to sort of, because if you have all these amazing abilities, then the second game might be easier, short of like making all of the enemies really hard or something. But then there's this cost to using the Soul Reaver that I thought was really cool as well, that it will literally kill you if you use it too much. And they came up with just really novel ways of like, keeping that progression through the games, but like also like not making it too easy as you go along. I thought that was a really cool like innovation. Do games really do that anymore? It's normally like you just add something on and make things a little bit harder and things like that. You've got a grappling hook now, like
right. Like when you play that's something that really bothered me about the new Tomb Raider, not the remasters, but the new one.
Yeah,
it's a great game series. I really enjoy it, but you do kind of start over again each time. It's like Lara Croft forgot how to do everything. don't know what to tell you. Like, you gotta learn all this shit again. It's just But yeah, no, I mean, I don't think that. Yeah, they don't know how to think anymore. I think is the problem, right? It's like, okay, so we got to this point. Like, now where do we go from here? And in most cases, it's easier to say, well, what if they lost their powers because they got captured? That's it, right? Like, normally that's it. It's like you start game number 2 and it starts in a prison. It's like, oh, you're naked again. You got nothing.
It's like again. Yeah, like that's the easiest path of least resistance and easiest way to do it, I guess. Like, there's been lots of speculation. I don't know if you guys played the Witcher series, but like the next Witcher game features a like really powerful character as like the main, like the Witcher. Like, it's different. It's a woman, and she has all these like magic powers that like I think they're just gonna wave that away by like she was imprisoned. Like
you have to be a girl in this one.
Yeah.
It's you get to be a girl. Is she caked up? Is she Latina?
No,
I can't wait for Grand Theft Auto 6.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. Grand Theft Auto 6 is based, but like, no, it's like all the guys can have nice chunky butts, but like if it's a girl, she has to be flat as a pancake, dude. Yeah. Like you cannot feel sexual towards her at all.
That was my one thing against the new Tomb Raider.
I was gonna say they did that in Tomb Raider too. It's like she's not.
Like where'd the F's go? Like,
yeah. No, they're like, I don't know what cup sizes really are. I just
I've never learned them. I don't know which ones are like the big ones.
Girls would be like, it's really complicated. I'm like, whatever you say, bitch. I don't know. Like,
I only know from watching Jenny Jones. Remember that talk show? Where they would have like the bitches with the like giant tits, and they'd be like, these are 44 double G's. I'm like, all right, so that's what that is.
Okay.
I just remember there was a Jerry Springer episode where this bitch had like double Z's or something, and I was like, God,
what did she roll them around in a shopping cart or something? Like how
they were like. It was like some the South Park balls in the wheelbarrow type shit. Like, that shit was resting on her knees. That was
This is all contemporaneous with Legacy of Kain too. Like all of these great shows. Like I can envision a afternoon where I played Soul Reaver and watched some Jerry Springer.
Oh yeah,
like
absolutely.
Man, those were the days, dude.
You know, some of the character designs make me really nostalgic for this certain, like Mobius, for example, especially in the second game, who also has a great voice actor. Like, really puts me in mind of this era of, like, TV shows like, I don't know if you guys ever saw Reboot.
Yes, I
Yeah,
remember
of
that
course.
show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony J was in Reboot, by the way.
And Tony J was in Reboot, yeah, as Megabyte, the main villain.
Yeah.
So there's, like, another connection there. But, you know, also things like Bionicle and, like, Beast Wars and stuff like that. Very, like, this intersection of a certain kind of gothic imagery with like computer animation, and there are a lot of like kind of jesters, like computer animated demonic jesters for some reason.
Of course,
like there was one in Reboot as well.
And there was Karn Evil. I don't know if you remember Karn Evil. It was like a shooter game. Had a lot of demonic jesters. Twisted Metal.
Carmageddon. Do you remember Carmageddon?
I do remember Carmageddon. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think anytime a medium is in a kind of nascent phase, that's when the spirits can get in, right? And that's when the weird occulty stuff can really thrive. Before it becomes fully material, there's a great thing about PS1 and PS2 graphics and PS1 and PS2 sound, where it's in this like semi-analog phase. Right?
Yeah.
Like everything hasn't quite become wireless and digital download and things like that. It's like how we used to have movies like The Ring and Cure and Pulse, where like the internet is a really scary thing because it's semi-analog, you know? And like the concept of the movie Pulse is that like this is how the ghosts get back into our world, right? They're like through the material creation of this web net, right? You're bridging the gap between the spirit realm and the human realm. And I think that's true. And I think that we were all playing games that were like Ouija boards. And I think that that's why they stick with us so much in a way that I don't think Fortnite or Minecraft is going to stick with kids like these days. Yeah. Because I think we were engaging in almost a kind of spiritualist act when we played games like Tomb Raider. You know, they did things for budgetary reasons, like Lara Croft would run out into like the dinosaur level and the sky was just completely black because they didn't have the disk space to populate that area.
The same thing with the spectral realm.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so like when you're going into the spectral realm and Legacy of Kain, I think something more serious than just, you know, graphical limitations was going on, right? And that's why the games feel the way that they do, right? On the one hand, it's aesthetically orchestrated through character design and music and all this kind of stuff, but there's the medium is not the massage or the message or whatever, but the medium itself, like the games feel haunted, right? Like something like Silent Hill 2 or Resident Evil 2 or Legacy of Kain 1 and 2, and then games that aren't even supposed to be scary, like again, Tomb Raider. It was at that liminal, to use an overused phrase, but in this case, it's accurate, right? This liminal space between absolutely no real technology and ubiquitous technology. That's where the ghosts come in, right there. And these games are in there.
Two things is so one of them is, did any of you guys play the bonus content, like the levels that didn't make it into the games that were included?
I had a look at those. Yeah,
that's like a really that's like a perfect example of what you're talking about. Because like they obviously one of them has some enemies in, but they don't attack you. But it's just the emptiness of them. There is definitely this like feeling of a kind of slowly rising panic that I get playing those bonus levels where I can't really bear to be in them for too long and I have to just kind of punch out. But also, yeah, like this is, I think, one of the great masterstrokes of these games, right? Is the spectral realm dynamic, where if you lose all your health, or you have the option, so there's an inherent connection there between like the death of the character, at least in the material realm, or like you can kind of exit at any time. Sometimes you would get into these dilemmas where like you have to defeat some enemies in the material realm, and they'd like get you down to the like last bit of your health, but you'd defeat them, and then you'd be like, fuck, I need to like absorb their souls to like replenish my health. But then you just come to a gate, so it's like you'd have to go to the spectral realm anyway. There's this constant kind of like disruption of like the impulse to conserve one's own life. The way the game kind of plays with that is really interesting. But also the more obvious thing is just the way when you shift into this realm, the environment warps around you. And then there's also this kind of fauna of the sluagh, the like beasts that are like that sense of like there is this kind of etheric ecosystem going on. It's very creepy, and it's like creepy to feel also that like when you shift back into the material realm, you know that like beyond what you're seeing, there's this other world that's like inhabited, and these things could be inches from you,
dude. And that is like when you communicate with real like serious occultists about like demonology and dealing with these things in real life, like they'll tell you, okay, like demons are wild animals, right? And they need to be treated as such. You're the crocodile hunter, and what you're dealing with is something that wants to consume you and eat you. And games like this,
we got a
really
live Raziel over
here. That was terrible. He's a
beautiful bugger.
That was better.
Yeah, we can't do that. We can't do that shit.
I don't hear the difference.
All I know is y'all not from America. That's what I know. But no, it's a game like this has a perfect representation of that with the sluagh, right? Like they're not. I do like that in Legacy of Kain, none of these demons, whatever you encounter on the astral plane, whatever it is, like they're not like these beautiful or power, like they are powerful, but they're also pathetic, right? Like every bad guy in this game is sad in some way. You know,
that's really
they're
true.
fallen forms.
Yeah, well, it's all the boss encounters as well, like, and then it also extends to like a figure like Kain himself or Mobius, all of these, or the Elder God. It's like they appear powerful in certain guises or in certain times and places or contexts, but they're also all limited in their own way. And there's this the way that like the Elder God, for example, is you don't know whether it claims to be this entity that controls the wheel of fate and is therefore central to like the kind of cosmology of this universe.
The cycle of birth, death, and rebirth.
But then there's this like the game plays with the idea, and Raziel wonders whether actually the Elder God is just this kind of big cosmic parasite that just needs to feed. And so all of the characters, they're kind of like, you know, they're caught in their own cycles of hunger, their own kind of, I guess, like physical attachments. And so much of like their moves against each other are just this kind of subterfuge. But when you're encountering the sort of like degenerated forms of the other members of the other like vampire lieutenants in the boss battles in the first game, like none of them are kind of exalting themselves at you. Really, they're all kind of like they all express
Kill me.
Yeah, they're all kind of like expressing their own sense of like fear or disenchantment at the world, and it is like this wasteland. It's like it's a depressing world. It's a world that's like on the downswing, you know.
That's why it's the ultimate Gnostic game, right? I don't know which one of you brought it up, but like the game is ultimately it gets more into this in Defiance, but it's still there. It's all about free will, right? And Raziel is the only character who breaks himself out of the cycle of repetition and time by being able to not suck the dick when it's in his face, right? Like he's able to turn it down. It's difficult, Matt, I know, but he's able to do that.
He rejected the hypothesis.
He rejects the whole hypothesis, and that's what I think makes these games, you know, on a story level, so beautiful and brilliant. Is that, you know, it is a world full of fallen beings, and the reason why they're fallen is because no matter what their motive is for doing what they're doing, they all end up as scabrous, disgusting cogs in a wheel that's moving towards something. And Raziel, though disgusting and caked up, he's the only one who's able to break himself out of that and say, I reject the hypothesis. And what better message could we have for our time than that? Right? It's beautiful. It's like, there's like, you look at Twitter creatures and you're like, I don't care what side of the fucking argument you're on, but you're all just these fucking lurching hunchback creatures that are, you know, tariffs are the thing now,
and there are also
like
once great accounts that you encounter now. And they're like, is this not a dying platform?
Like, we're all playing Legacy of Kain every day when we log on, right?
Oh my god.
And we have the ability, because we are free men who can do what we want, we all have the ability to reject the hypothesis, right? And I feel like
Raziel is like, you reactivated your account after being in the abyss, and it's like, I'd rather not be here. And Twitter is like, the choice is not yours to make.
Logging onto Twitter,
but it's funny, but it's also true. Like we can all do that. We can all like, and it gets complicated, right? Because things that Raziel does is elements of free choice, like they kind of suck him back into the wheel, and then he comes back out, and but I do actually think that there's a reason that we all psychically knew that it was time to talk about Legacy of Kain, and it's because I think we live in that right now. Like when you run around Twitter, doesn't it feel like Nosgoth? Like oddly empty, and when you do find things, it's just this. Vampiric's the wrong word because that suggests a predator, but it's more of just like a pathetic parasite, like all these little,
like a slewer.
Exactly.
Yeah, I always thought that this. I like that they went there with the free will stuff, because I really think that there is a temptation, and it is often fulfilled with a lot of stories like this and time travel stories and things like that, where they get into they do the causal loop thing, like the beginning is the end is the beginning.
You're your dad.
Yeah, and that sort of shit, which I've always found that really disturbing, because I believe in free will. So like, I always find that stuff very, and I also think it's kind of, you know, hackneyed, and like, it's just an easy cop out and people are sort of demonstrating how smart they are by, like, you know, putting it all together in that way. I just really hate looping things like that. Or if
that's
it does
what's so great about this game.
I want it to spin out to something else, you know, like, yeah. Right.
Like, and that's what's so brilliant about this game, is that like Raziel does break the wheel, right? And they represent it with that like, like everything starts, And I think that that's the point that less creative artists get to, where they're like, well, what does it look like if he breaks things? Bro, the camera just it does that Jaws reverse dolly shot over and over again. Like, that's what it looks like, dude. Come on. And now things are different. So it's a game that in which the storytellers had the courage of their convictions to say, like, hey, no, he actually really does. Like, he's the guy who doesn't fix anything, really, but he makes it different. And I think that's also a good way to look at things when you're approaching Twitter. I'm not fixing anything. Maybe I can make it different.
Term called Ubi-Sun that I think developed from like the study of like a kind of medieval poetry or Anglo-Saxon poetry, which I think it kind of roughly translates to like, where are they now? And it's because like a lot of the impetus for this like early English poetry was people coming across old ruins, you know. And there's a wonderful kind of Ubi-Sun quality to these games, that occurs when, you know, you like, because of all the time travel, you will be revisiting the same location, but at different moments in time. And this wonderful sense of like, this like nearness and distance. And it's the same thing when you just visit locations that you recognize from the intro movie, like The Abyss.
The one that overwhelmed you when you were a younger person. You're like,
yes.
I don't know what this is, but something's fucked up here.
Yeah. Well, it's that feeling of like there being something more to just the physical presence of the place. You know, that sense of a kind of like of history, and this idea that there is something to be decoded from it all, which is whenever Raziel is like looking at a mural, and kind of wondering at what it all means. There's this like the sense of like timelessness, the fact that all the characters as well have been alive for kind of thousands of years, and it seems like their memories are kind of hazy. So Raziel progresses through these increasing revelations. First, he discovers that he was a member of the Sarafan, the Order of Vampire Hunters, before he was one of Kain's vampire lieutenants. Like, at the beginning of the game, Raziel has served Kain as a lieutenant for a millennia. So for literally thousands of years. And then he's had a human lifetime before then, which apparently he doesn't remember. And by the end of the second game, we discovered that, you know, the human Raziel was killed by the Wraith Raziel from the future. All of this is kind of like revealed to us, but like,
and then that there's a third race. That's the end of the second game, right?
Yeah,
we fell into the plot of the Hilden. You're like, what the fuck? Okay,
and they're connected to the corrupted pillars, which are the pillars are to keep the Hilden out of in the demon realm.
Oh,
so there's a whole other like cosmic war going on behind all this as well. Yeah.
By the way, too, how I love the kind of like symphonic metal kind of like Sonata Arctica look of the pillars of Nosgoth.
Yeah, just into the sky for eternity. Sort of
into
thing.
the like just eternally reaching into the sky. It's
I
so cool.
love huge towers, right? And these are pillars, right? Not a tower. But I love anything that goes on into infinity. If you're like, it's a tower and it just keeps going, I'm like, fuck yeah.
In game as well, if you're at them, they will always extend farther than you can like tilt the camera. But there's something about that kind of marble texture that looks really nice when it's like rendered into 3D art. And I love both the white pure pillars of Nosgoth and then the black corrupted pillars of Nosgoth as well.
And then they descend underground, and like you find in the second game, I think you find like the elder gods there as well.
Yeah,
and, you're like,
and that's when Raziel starts getting like cunty with people.
Yeah.
I really like all those bits where he's
his freak out is fucking amazing. Like when he when he puts his gun and his badge on the table, he's like, oh, I don't work for anybody anymore.
The chorus of spirits and demons and gods all shouting in unison, "Kill Kain!" I thought that was so awesome. Like his growing skepticism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the whole story is just about a person, the differing levels that you have to go through to become an actual free person who is not beholden to the archons and the demiurge and whatever. It's really a story of that, of just like him finally coming into his own. And the result's not great, right? You're free, but at what cost? There's no island to go to. It's freedom for its own sake.
But that's the double-edged sword, so to speak, of freedom, you know, like that. And I think that's why a lot of people don't choose it. They would prefer just to be, you know, slower.
That's where we're at in America right now, trying to teach these Zoomers and all the alpha kids why freedom matters. Trying to keep them from turning us Chinese.
Yeah, it matters.
They're like, but everything kind of sucks. We're like, yeah, and we want to keep it that way, bitch.
Yeah.
One thing about this game that I've only recently found out, which I love, is that it was written and directed by a woman in the 90s.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And she...
Oh, man, that ruins the whole fucking thing.
No,
the game kind of sucks, actually.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't.
Actually, I don't like the game that much.
No, it doesn't, because she's based. Because she said, I've never experienced sexism in the video game industry.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's cool again.
Like,
It's
I
cool
actually
again.
love the game, by the way.
But like...
She's like, and I would know if it was there. I've sucked all the dicks. Never experienced any.
Well, I don't know if you want to... Yeah, I've seen a picture of this lady, and I don't want to imagine that. So, yeah.
No.
Yeah.
She's not as caked as...
No.
Caked up.
Yeah. But like...
So it was written and directed by a woman?
Yeah, all of them.
This whole thing was?
Yeah.
Dude, this is fucking me up right now.
Importantly, though, she was also involved in a really... Yerk will know what I'm talking about. I don't know if you guys do. You ever hear of that Forspoken game?
She was... Yeah, I have. Yeah.
I don't think she wrote the dialogue. I think she came up with the concept for that. So it's like, you know, swings and roundabouts. You know?
Well, that's
Is
also
that the
like
one with the super Reddit dialogue?
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that also somebody going to like a realm?
Yes,
right?
It is. Yeah.
Like a different realm.
And this woman who's like some biracial woman, or it's like I killed someone with my mind, and like keeps saying that, like, and that's the quality of the dialogue.
There's some game, I don't know what it is, but this is where I get the like unappealing British woman voice from, because there's a bit in it where you do some puzzle or something, and then she's like, "Wait, did you just shift reality?" Or something like that, and it's just like the ugliest noise I've ever heard in my life.
Speaking of ugly British voices, in Blood Omen 2, which is the game that is probably most populated with NPCs, because you know the vampires have sort of...
But they're all like Cockney, right?
Yeah, they're all like, when you attack like random people, they're like, "Please, sir, have mercy." You know,
please don't.
Oh, what's all this?
It's like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting that like, yeah, she's the creator of this. Like, it was really well written.
No, it's cool.
All thought out, and like she directed it as well. And just
isn't that a thing that points toward it being not a male or a female thing, but just like a symptom of the times, right?
Meritocracy.
Like, it's a meritocracy. She had a good story. She wrote it well. It was good, and people were like, "Yeah, sure. Like you're ugly. You can do whatever you want. Like it's fine."
Well, this is just from a, you know, like people have a fictionalized idea of like the sexist and racist world of pre-2010s culture.
Right.
And that, like, you have to understand with all of, like, you know, woke media or whatever, all of it is premised on a complete, like, fictionalization of the past, where women never wrote anything or whatever, but also that when women did write things, that wasn't like the key thing about it. They were just like a human being who was like contributing to a common culture, and they were received as such, you know?
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but women do write the best vampire shit. Like Anne Rice.
Oh,
come
on. That's
Rice.
true. I mean, Anne Rice is the best. Yep. Yeah, because it's about a dude overpowering you and sucking the life out of you, and you love every fucking second of you. Yeah, I mean, like, of course it's a woman that does that. Yeah.
But only a woman would be able to go there without like pulling back and being like, I mean, no homo, but she's just like, no, this would be hot if two dudes were like sucking each other.
The other thing, like, I wanted to mention about what you were saying, Yerk, about pre 2010s is like we mentioned at the top. We talked about, just mentioned like new metal. Like new metal is like the apotheosis of this vibe of like there were all sorts of people into new metal. Like it wasn't just like white kids, there were like black kids, Asian kids, and this was like in the bands as well. And it just wasn't remarkable.
Nobody cared.
Nobody cared. Nobody gave a shit. Like, and it was great.
And when you go to a Deftones concert now, which I did a few years ago, it's all little Mexican kids who love the Deftones. Right? Like, it's not a race-based thing. And that is why we fucking had a utopia and you fuckers ruined it. Mm-hmm. Because we had System of a Down, which was Armenian. We had Deftones, which was Mexican. We had Disturbed, which was Jewish. Less good. But we had all these bands that had all these different ethnicities. Like Evanescence had a girl. And that's an ethnicity.
No, to be fair, it is. But
there was even a girl one.
But it was truly a beautiful time, and I remember. It's why people like me and like we grew up in this kind of like. It's why we have such a tough time, because we grew up in an America where we could all say the N-word and nobody cared. Like literally nobody cared. And then all of a sudden we're thrust into this world where everybody super cares about that kind of shit. And it's like, what happened? Like, I thought we were all vibing and chilling and it was all cool, but nope.
And now it's annoying all over, because even the people who are like, yeah, I say retarded. Like, okay, are you 5? Who cares?
Oh, the fact that that's coming back, it's like, oh, you're saying it now that and everybody...
People say it a little bit too much too, Like, I like saying it. And in fact, it's like, as I was saying, I was messaging JDO the other day, it's part of my aesthetic kind of theory, basically. But like, you can't say it all the time, because then it just becomes... It doesn't become you, actually, to do that. Yeah.
Right. So it swings back the other way, where it's like I say the F word all the time.
Yeah. And it goes beyond race and shit like that as well. Like, people are they've imported that kind of like sensitivity about certain words that used to be okay into like certain concepts, or even like certain, I don't know, identities or whatever. Like, you can speak to what's going on with young white males in the UK at the moment. But which is just weird, like how people are talking about this as if it's like some strange epidemic of like violence caused by little boys.
It's a bit crazy making. I don't know, like, it's I don't know. I just feel like the UK is pretty schizophrenic, It does feel kind of like, it does feel like Nosgoth, actually.
Please have mercy.
Yeah, well, it just feels like a kind of like decaying world where nothing anybody does makes sense, like banning samurai swords or something. Okay.
It's a little bit like that here, but with more sunshine, I guess.
Yeah.
I take a lot of inspiration from you, Yerk, because I did a post like yesterday at like 8 a.m. about COVID, and I like I think it has like 8,000 likes or something like that, but it also has a bunch of retweets where everybody's like telling me that I'm like a faggot and a pussy and all this kind of stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I was like, what? I was like, what would Year do? He would. I was like, he would just post through it, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just.
That's so flattering.
Like, you know, you had so much money if you were drinking yourself to death.
Yeah, that was my favorite
really?
one. Is where,
okay.
yeah. I was like, oh yeah, COVID almost made me drink myself to death, and they're like, where'd the money come from the booze? I was like, it was whatever I had left over. I was just spending on like, what do you want me to like?
That's like when people pretend that's just that's actually the biggest mark that these are rich kids coming up with this shit, because it's like, what are you talking about? Poor people have boats and big screen TVs. Like, it's not hard to get stuff. Like, money is for living in better places than where you live.
Dude,
getting beer is not hard.
A fucking handle of Everclear is like $20. It's like you can very easily drink yourself to death on a budget.
Yeah, and also not
tip.
Yeah.
Lots of homeless people manage it, so that's clearly.
Yeah, well, like also it was COVID. Like they forget conveniently that it was COVID, and you couldn't go anywhere, you couldn't do anything. So it was just like, what else are you going to spend your money on? You know,
I'm just trying.
There's a lot of people who are like, you know, I don't know. I saw the post, right? I saw this post that was like, it's been repeated since the COVID times, of like, you guys are just mad because you couldn't go to Outback Steakhouse for 4 weeks. And so my point with the post was like, this ruined my life, right? And like I posted that, and there are people who are like, skill issue, like you just you couldn't
it's so
make it through.
nasty.
Yeah. And I was like, but the point of that is that I found a lot of inspiration from Yerk in that, and I was like, I follow this account called Sid Sayerhart or something like that, and they had posted this GIF of like Buddha with like the evil eyes, you know, like the kind of, and it was like, I will stare into the inferno with the Buddha's eyes of ice, and I was like, that's tight, and I was like, all right, cool, yeah, because like earlier David would have just deleted the post as soon as it got to like 2,000 and it was like kind of picking up speed. I would have been like, I don't want that kind of shit, but now I'm like, I sold some books off that shit. Let's go.
Awesome.
Like, let's. If I could do a post every day that has like 10,000 likes, but a bunch of people calling me a fag, but I sell books, could be a strategy.
Yeah.
Well, I just get really indignant when people, you know, talk shit in my replies, and I'm like, no, you're wrong. I'm not going to let this go.
I was going to say, like, you're the go to that shit, bro. Like, I hats off to you, dude, because
so effortless too. Because like, I would have to be there, like, thinking for days on end. Yeah, it's like
you're just goes like, you're retarded.
That is where I default. And I try to it's not helping the lover allegations either. When every time they dogpile on my boy, I'm like, you're a fucking gay retard. They're like, who are you?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well, that was the guy, like the literary guy, right?
Oh, the literary guy. Can we talk about him real quick?
Yeah.
I know this is a Legacy of Kain podcast.
No, but it's also still a third and Agitator podcast, so we've got to like talk shit on like literary world people.
Sure, yeah. So like, I saw this guy. This Mauro Felipe Cardenza, I think is his name.
Credenza,
yeah. And I had seen a post, and I had seen the post, and then you know how like sometimes like you refresh Twitter and that post goes away, and I was like, fuck. So I was like, I was gonna QT it, but I didn't because I couldn't find it. And so I was like, okay, I remember the vibe of it. And I talked about this post, and this guy, like in his profile picture, like he's clearly in an outdoor coffee shop, bistro, axe throwing type shit, you know, like kissing a dog, whatever.
See, this is why you're a great writer. You're really setting the scene here. It's good.
Yeah. And he had done a post where he was like, the thing about genre fiction is that they just want to make money, and that's gauche or whatever. And so I did a tweet, and I couldn't remember the fucker's name, so I just tweeted like, I saw a guy who was saying some shit like this, and so what they're saying is like they actively don't want to make money. And how do you make money in writing? By writing things that people enjoy. So it naturally follows to me that you're saying don't write things that people enjoy to keep some kind of like artistic street cred. Somehow this motherfucker found me, right? Because artists are all like whisper network, like, psst, psst, I think he's talking about you. I think he's talking about you, right? And so he comes out with this whole thing where it's like, oh, what the fuck? Kelby, do you remember what he said? He's like, oh, tell me you've never read literary fiction without telling me you've never read literary fiction. And then all of a sudden my mentions are full of like, these like Hispanic dudes, because this apparently is very popular in the like very culturally backward South, shall we say, right? Of this class of Roberto Bolaño-esque type people who believe that artists are some kind of terrorist warriors in the service of dismantling capitalism.
It's the Broadness sect, I think.
It's supposed to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, those fucking retards. Yeah. But like, and so like all of a sudden I have all these guys who are like wearing tuxedos, and like their profile pictures are of them at like old typewriters and shit like that, being like, well, actually, I think what you're saying is you don't care about good writing. And I just quote tweeted that guy with, rich kid vibes, because that's what you are. Like, if you don't care about making money, that means you already have money, right? You care about it less the further you get into your bag, because you're like, well, now I can do whatever the fuck I want. But it was just really funny to me because a lot of people showed up in that. And this always happens whenever people come after me. And they were like, JDO has written and published some of like the best fiction of the 21st century. So you don't
shut up.
you don't know who you're talking to right now. And I think he just blocked everybody. He was like, oh, never mind.
You know what's so funny about like when stuff like that happens with either you or Kelby is that it's such like a meeting of worlds for me, because like I know some of these people from like a previous kind of career, and so I've still bizarrely follow them because I don't really unfollow anyone, and so it's just this meeting of worlds where like Kelby and JDO and like the rare candy people, and then, like it's just very surreal to me to like have them fighting. Right. Obviously I'm on your guys' side, but like it's just funny to see that, like, oh, I know that name, well, like, and they're getting trounced.
Middlebrow literary fiction is like the most boring shit in the world. I mean, yes. I would like genuinely, I was checking this out, and there doesn't seem to be any, but I would like, playing these games made me want to like read some trashy novelizations, and
I would love to write those, dude. That'd be so much fun.
That would be amazing. You'd be so good at it. Like
give me the script. Like, let's go. Let's flesh that kind of. I could do that really well, where it's like a fully fleshed out world that still feels empty. That's kind of my thing.
Yeah. But well, it's because you have a sensitivity to. I remember because when you came on my show, we were talking about like the Tony Hawk's games, and you were saying that like, oh no, those like a horror game. Those are horror games. Like you have a sensitivity to the sort of like texture of these experiences that I'm sure comes through in your writing. Like I can see just from like little excerpts I've seen on the timeline that like attention to these particular sensations that arise out of specific forms of media like video games. They're clearly things that like inform you in a kind of like imaginatively productive way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. And like, I think what the big thing is that whether it's this kind of credentialed, privileged class of people who wear leather jackets and say dumb shit, or indie writers who think that word salad nonsense equals difficult and challenging and interesting art. What they don't realize is that people like Kelby, myself, Matt, Yerk, I don't know, do you write? No, you post.
No, I'm not. I can't do it.
And you do it well.
Post. Yeah.
You do it well. You do it well. But us
Thank
three,
you.
like, what they don't realize is that we are about to. It's going to be a wave. I've seen this in a beatific vision, right? Like, we are going to sweep the land with this new type of fiction that is a synthesis of both worlds, where we have pulp sensibilities and literary like, we're good at prose, right? Like, Matt sent me a book that he's working on, and it's like, oh, like, I can see it immediately. I'm like, okay, yeah, this motherfucker knows what the fuck he's doing. Kelby, obviously, whatever he writes is just like gold coming
like
up. But we're all trash, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're all this kind of, and like, these people aren't, like, they have no idea how to reckon with this. It's like they think the wrong politics. They love trash that we're not supposed to like, and they write better than the literary books that we're supposed to read. What do we do?
I'm not writing
this?
for my heroes. I'm not writing in conversation with Dostoevsky or Bolaño or some shit. I don't give a fuck.
Yep.
Actually,
So
I am better
exciting.
than the dead OGs. I am better than them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't respect my elders.
Listen to Chicken and Waffles. But yeah,
go listen to Chicken and Waffles. Yeah.
I appreciate the space to do that rant, but I'm just very excited because everything's coming up Millhouse right now.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. I need to get some of your books. I know I said this to you last time, but I'm definitely going to get a copy of God's Fair No Better.
Yeah, you should. I've read it. It's amazing. You should. Everyone should go and buy it. And JDO, I'm going to have you on at some point to promote it. So, and also I just put on the last episode, our big omnibus edition of the Book of the New Sun episode. So this month is just like all JDO all the time.
It's all JDO. I'm going on Rare Candy literally 6 times in the next like 2 months. Because it's like Cy wanted me on for something, and then I'm doing a Michael Crichton thing, but it's a book release. It's the promotion cycle. So
nice.
But yeah.
Speaking of pulp sensibility, I did want to get in and so you can find the I can't remember the name of the writer, the lady who created this world and everything, but you can find like interviews where what is it? Amy Hennig?
Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, you can find interviews where she's talking about her influences or whatever. And I haven't seen Michael Moorcock come up, but these games also I just like have to tie it in because these games feel very like Moorcockian to me.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's like I remember I think when I found out what like the concept of the sword Stormbringer in the Elric books, I was like, oh, it's basically Soul Reaver. It's like a sword that like sucks the souls of its victims. It feels like something that's basically transplanted into these games. But then also just this theme of like a kind of chosen hero who is manipulated on various quests by cosmic forces. It's just a very like common theme in, any of Michael Moorcock's like Eternal Champion books. Like when we did Quorum on Getting Lit a little while ago, it was a big theme in those books too. The way Quorum is manipulated by gods of order and chaos. And yeah, I think it's like they're just themes and resonances that I really like, and I think there's a bit early in the second game where you, as Raziel, you acquire the physical Soul Reaver sword, and it felt like it was just like almost like lifted from the page of an Elric book, the stuff that Raziel's saying, because then it introduces a dynamic where whenever you're in the material realm and you have the sword activated, by like tapping circle twice, I think, your health is always subtly draining away because the sword is like draining your life force. And it's just like a almost direct lift of the kind of like Elric sword relationship. Well, like there are times where Elric is like subsisting off the sword, but like at the same time there is this kind of like battle of wills between him and it, you know. And then Soul Reaver develops it in a certain way because as it's subsequently revealed, Raziel is the, like, I guess the spectral form. It's his soul that is the soul of the sword. But yeah, just as a kind of riff on Elric, and then also like Kain, less so in these games, but in like Blood Omen 2, where he's all like pale and white and smooth, he just resembles Elric as well. And there's obviously a similar atmosphere of this kind of like doomed fin de siècle gothic romanticism that the games share in common.
And also the heroism of those pulpy stories being manipulated by cosmic forces is always the assertion of free will, which is what happens here. And if you like swords with like personalities, then you're gonna love JDO's book because there's some of that in there too. Yeah.
I'm also very influenced by Michael Moorcock. Who has Michael Moorcock not influenced? I mean, Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, like Grant Morrison in The Invisibles. He's like, yeah, this is all like a Michael Moorcock riff on this. Warhammer, fucking, I mean, everything is downstream from Moorcock, and I think there might be a Moorcock
resurgence.
Renaissance, yeah.
We need more cock.
We need more cock, yes.
We need more cock.
But yeah, like he's one of those people that whenever you read up on them and you're like, oh, they're still alive, like, because he is apparently. He's very old, but yeah, I
used to know this guy called James, and his dad was like a low level. I mean, no disrespect, but he was like a more obscure kind of British weird fiction writer that Michael Moorcock knew and was friends with, and well, presumably still is. But I remember meeting Michael Moorcock at the British Library, a talk he was given, and I'm like mentioning my friend to him, and he was like, "Oh yes, yeah, I know him. Yeah, I'm glad to hear he's doing well."
Yeah. That's tight. That's so you met him. That's fucking tight.
Yeah,
I met him. Yeah, I got one of my little paperbacks signed.
Oh.
You know,
I'm a super Grant Morrison fan, right? Like that's my guy. That's like the person. But like, if you want to follow the genealogy, he's a they them now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's a they them.
Yeah,
it's all very upsetting. But like
China Mieville any day. Sorry,
any day. Dude, he's got like the bondage earrings, you know, where it's like,
but he's too masculine. Like it's not gonna work. He's too masculine looking.
One of these guys is gonna.
We're in weird times. Moorcock's not fucking with any of that shit though.
No.
With Grant Morrison, it's just like a kind of how like Thai occultists will dress like a woman to trick demons from being able to find them. Grant Morrison is just like doing the envy thing to like trick the archons, throw them off the path.
Yeah. There was one time
I don't even exist. I'm nothing.
I went to Morrison Con like 15 years ago, right? It was in Vegas. It was in the Hard Rock Hotel. You could smoke in the hotel, which was fucking crazy. I was fucking blasting cigs in the hotel. And I got the chance to meet Morrison there. And I had all these questions I wanted to ask him. And they chunked us up into like groups of 4 to talk to him. And as soon as we sat down, and this is kind of like my podcasting personality too, I talk a lot and I talk over people and stuff. And so I was just like, I had questions about We Three, The Invisibles. I was just like going. And then our time was up, and my wife and I were walking away, And I was like, that was fucking awesome. She was like, there were two guys sitting right there who didn't say a single word. Like you talked to Morrison the whole time about like your pet theories about we three and the Invisibles. And I was like, should have spoken up. I don't know. Like, I got things to say.
Snooze,
but yeah,
lose.
Moorcock is. I really do think like there will be a very soon, like people realizing how influential that dude is.
Yeah. I hope it's before he dies too, because that'd be nice for him to get that. Because get a bit of
like we got this from him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because and we've all got the I don't know if Björk does actually, but we've all got a lot of love for Gene Wolfe, but unfortunately he's kind of passed on.
I still haven't read Gene Wolfe. It sucks. I need to read some of his stuff. I want to listen to your episode too. No, dude. I went down there's like other than Moorcock, the one other big fantasy writer I like massively got into from the proper old guard was Jack Vance.
Yeah.
Oh, Jack Vance. Yeah.
Book of the New
Jack
Sun is
Vance,
kind of influenced.
Yeah. Jack Vance, Moorcock too, right? Like, I mean, I feel like Vance, Moorcock, and Wolf they're all working in the same. Factory.
I have the books. They've just been like so many other books of mine. They've just been on the shelf for ages. And
throw those books in the trash and pick up The Shadow of the Torturer. Like, dude, you will thank me.
Yeah,
I promise you.
And then listen to our podcast.
I'll do it this year. I'll probably listen to your 4-part podcast before I read the books.
9 hours and like 1 hour is just complaining about trans people.
It sounds like my kind of show.
Was it only 1 hour?
I mean, over the course of the show.
I mean, that ain't bad.
All right. I think we got any more thoughts on these games or?
No, 10 out of 10. Great games.
Yeah. Go play the remasters if you got a PlayStation. They're amazing.
Yeah.
Go
play the games and just get into that weird occult syncretic headspace of like, go back to this place where we were still liminal. We're no longer liminal. Now we're I don't even know what to call it, like mega binary about everything. But
I like that.
Yeah, take that, Grant Morris.
Yeah, take that, you fucking homo.
Mega non-binary.
But yeah, no, these games, I actually do think that playing these games in conversation with playing the first 3 Tomb Raiders is really very different games, but also very similar games. And I think you'll start to get something. It'll start to percolate.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Thanks, guys. See everyone whenever, because this is like a 3-way podcast. So come to my podcast, go to Yerk's or go to Agitator. Yeah,
everybody listen to Agitator and Getting Lit with Mazzini.
That's right.
And
everybody
check out
listen to
Bistro
Californium and
Getting Lit.
Yeah, do it. It's all about the back scratching and the shilling, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.